you notice there's not 96 people in this room. Kind of, even though you have a commitment, you have to think about those things, that even though you sell in advance, you might not have everybody come in advance. And that's an important lesson for you to learn. That's why when you sell in advance, you want to get their money, because even if they don't show up, you've still done all of the work. I still rented the speakers, I still rented the room, I still did all of the stuff. Why should I not be rewarded if somebody doesn't want to show up? These are some of the principles that you have to learn. It's uncomfortable because people don't like taking tickets in advance. People don't like selling stuff in advance because a lot of times you go, well, that person didn't show up, or that person may not come. Well, we want to make sure we accommodate everybody at the door. Problem is, you can't worry about that. That's not on you. Everybody has different things in life. They can't handle it. If all of a sudden somebody doesn't show up, that's irrespectful of you who did go through the process not to have the class. Or to somehow let people in randomly who wander in and say, hey, I didn't buy a ticket. I don't care. I should be let in. Absolutely not. You didn't go through the process. So we'll talk about those things. First, I want to thank our sponsors. Patrick Davidson, Cardinal Financial. He's the one that covered all the room costs. Patrick loves the live stream and everything else. Yeah, there you go. He cared about you enough to do this class, and so it's really important to kind of understand that when you're a sponsor, you should receive more than just, hey, great, some claps. We're going to make sure he has all of your data. This is a good lesson for you. He's going to make sure that he reaches out to each one of you. Even if you're not in the mood for a Cardinal Financial or a home lending, you're going to hear from him, because it's important that he receives something back. There's an idea, sponsorship or philanthropy. If you're just a philanthropist, you're just giving money for giving money's sake. And we have a lot of people that do that in this area. The difference is you have to be able to activate a sponsor. If somebody's giving you money, they're giving you money for a direct reason. They're giving you money for the fact that they actually want to receive something back. And if you're not doing that for a sponsor, shame on you. If you're running an event and you don't do anything for the sponsor, that's kind of bad on you. The other sponsor is Martin McKellion, Thurston Talk. He helps me out a lot, so I always say, hey, Martin, I'll call you out. And then of course, Nicole Koch of Network Connect. She wanted to host this event, but they deserve to have your business, or they deserve to have your activation, because they cared enough about you to have this class. Because without them, we're charging. Without them, we're probably not having the class. So I want to start off with an easy concept. And this concept is that nobody knows. I don't care about your product. I don't care about your service. I don't care about your entire event. No one knows. Not enough people know. I don't know if you knew this, but they have quiche in Forza. I didn't know that. I had no idea. I've been in this place 100 times, and I'm not calling anybody out. I know, but here's the reason. It is not that they don't advertise quiche. It is not that they don't care about quiche, and it's not that they don't do quiche. I'm merely picking on it because of something I picked up on. It's the fact that, guess what? I don't think about it. If I don't think about it, if it's not top of mind, it doesn't matter to me. You have to look at how you can make it top of mind your person every single time. No one knows. No one knows about your event. They always have conflicts. They always have services that they can use. They always have products that they can use. No one knows. And that comes into the idea of consistent marketing. There is never a time to lay off. Too many people lay off of their marketing. Too many people decide that they've done enough marketing. I heard that when I did the Pocket Gophers. Man, I'm really sick of the Pocket Gophers, man. I see them all over Facebook. I don't care. I don't care, because guess what? It's only hitting you now. You know, Andrew Barkus, I helped run his campaign on the digital side. We actually had people that did not know he was their constituent who kept seeing him in the Facebook and then complaining. How am I seeing you all the time? How am I seeing this? Doesn't matter. We're going to keep hitting you. And once you get into that net, you're never getting out. And I know that that's sometimes uncomfortable, because you're like, well, we're going to turn people off. You're going to turn people off no matter what. There are some people that are just never going to buy from you. There's some people never going to like you. Half of this room may never like me. It doesn't matter. You're still going to have to continue to pound away at it. When you're looking at Facebook advertising, there's things called pixels. Anybody know about pixels? Pixel advertising is an easy way for you to throw them in the net. So pixel advertising, it's free, you put it in the back end. You can also do it with Google redirection. What they do is, if anytime they interact with your ad, anytime they interact with your entire post, go through the entire measurement, now they're part of a pixel. Now when you advertise, you're advertising specifically to them over and over again. You cut down the amount of people that you actually have to advertise to in order to get to the people who are buyers. And that's an important part. You're aggressive in everything that you do. It doesn't matter what you do. It needs to be aggressive. It needs to be content driven. That doesn't just mean social media. That means if you're the sign guy, you need to make sure that your entire van is covered with how to buy your sign. You need to make sure that people are always consistently telling people about your sign. You need to make sure that if your sign is put up at a business, they're putting up an advertisement for your sign. That's important. Never lay off. Too many people lay off and then they wonder why they lose to the big box stores. Because guess what? The big box stores do not lay off, right? You're all fighting $1 billion budget, and the $1 billion budget, even though everybody knows about McDonald's, it doesn't matter. They still don't stop marketing. And they don't market to one segment, they market to several. That's the important point of this, is that you are continuing to market. Hit them as hard as possible at all times, and not just one group, several groups. The reason we sell in advance is because it's a commitment. It actually shows that they care. We have their money. It's not to screw them out of money. But if they make the choice not to show up after they have bought, that's on them. That is not on you. You've already done your part. We don't buy bullshit. Bullshit is, hey man, save me a ticket, I'll show up. We have a volleyball coach sitting right there, John Killenbeck. How many times have people said, save me a ticket? They haven't shown up.
2 years ago, before our van sales at camp, we had a 40% no-show rate.
Yeah, people don't show all the time, even when they buy something. Because guess what? They don't have to. There's still not 96 people in the room. If you think about it, that should they went through the entire motion of buying on event. They went through the entire motion, they still didn't show up because something else came up. It's not to berate them, but it's to say, guess what? There are always going to be people that don't show up, but get their money in advance, get their commitment in advance. We want to sell it. We like it when we sell it. I know certain people that swore to me up and down they were coming to this event. This was going to be the event that they all wanted to be a part of. They aren't here. I know them personally. Doesn't matter. It happens. Everybody wants to have their service and their product and their event become an opinion. You want to form opinions about these events. And if you don't form opinions about your events, they don't matter. Always form opinions about your events. Let's talk about two people. I'm going to only say the first name. Donald and Hillary. Obviously, Donald Glover, Childish Gambino, great actor, great performer, and then Hillary Swank, right? That's all we're thinking about. Donald and Hillary. Oh, wait, right? That's not who we're thinking about? And Christine's like all frozen. She's worried we're talking politics. They have built up their brand over 40 years. Those two that we're kind of not talking about, but we all know, and we all have positive and negative opinions on them. But the difference is, somebody else can't be Donald and Hillary. You cannot be something that you're not. If all of a sudden I decided I want to be Taxi Part 2, that's not going to work. But if I call myself Uber and I build up my brand, nobody else can become Uber. It just depends on whether or not you're willing to build up your brand. You're willing to have the long game. And you're willing to have it to where people are negative against you as much as positive. You are going to turn some people off. Because some people aren't going to like the fact that you're so aggressive. Some people won't like your service. Some people won't like your product. You can only service them as much as you possibly can, but you're still going to have them form an opinion on you. And if they haven't formed an opinion on you, they don't care. I get a lot of questions all the time, especially from one person who goes, well, I don't know why you made the soccer team the Pocket Gophers. I don't get that. Everybody in here possibly knows about the Pocket Gopher issue in one way or the other, or you've heard about it. At least it gave you some name recognition. Nobody else had it except for an issue of a benign Pocket Gopher that's not actually going to do anything with it. I don't think the Pocket Gophers are getting together. But at the same time, So there's nothing else sold on it. Nobody else had taken that brand. So I assumed that brand because it was already deep embedded in me. If I called it the Lacey Snapdragons, nobody would have given a crap. By the way, I called it Lacey. I did not call it Olympia. Why? Because Lacey always sits in the shadow of Olympia, and Olympia gets everything. Why would I want to compete with everybody else? Why would I want to not differentiate? I am Lacey. I have just as many people to market to, and in fact, guess what? A lot of more times, I'm going to have them more susceptible to coming in. I had 1,000 people come to my soccer matches over the thing. Do you know what the average is for a semi-pro soccer team in our league or the others? Probably about, 10% of that. People don't usually come. Now, it's not usually meant to market in the same way. It doesn't matter. It's a product. It's a service. It is something that we sell. I had people when I joined the chamber who automatically said, if you give away free tickets, everything will be great. You just give away free tickets, everyone will come. They'll taste test, everything will be great. Absolutely not. You make sure that they buy. If you have something that people want to buy, it's worth something. If you don't, you don't. I didn't care. I was happy to do this for Nicole, so I don't need a price on it. If I'd added $1, it might have changed the narrative of how many people showed up. Depended on how invested they were in the product itself. A lot of this comes to the idea of giving buyers ownership. If you look at sports fans, especially, what happens with sports fans? There's a 10% that are just like, ugh, that's their sport, that's their thing. And what do people like Ryan call, Ryan? What do you call people that join last minute when they're Seahawks fans and, you're gonna die hard all day long, and then they randomly show up? What do you call them? Fair weather, bandwagon fans, annoying? Right? Here's the thing, those annoying fans still fill the stadium, they're still 90%. You need the diehards to promote the product, but the diehards cannot be the only people that come to the product. And the problem is that if you commit yourself only to what the diehards want, you will never win, and you'll only have that 10%. So you'll have Ryan there, and you have all of Ryan's buddies there, but you'll have, 55,000 empty seats. No offense, Ryan doesn't know that many people. But you only have those diehards that care about certain things. You don't have the diehards that care about everything. And they certainly don't care about you who casually come once. You need to kind of focus on that. How do you reach out to the casual person, the person that wants to try it once, but still make them invest in it? And I'm going to give you a secret. The diehards don't ever want to pay full price for your product. That's the weirdest thing, right? The diehards always think that you should discount your product, you should give them the service, you should do all this stuff. They don't really want to, they don't really want to pay full price for it. The people that are casual, if you can hit the casual fans, if you can hit the people that come once, sometimes they pay more for the product. They don't know how much it costs. They just want to enjoy it. It's about having skin in the game. I think that that's an interesting point of having people that either have buy-in or they don't. And if you don't have buy-in, then you lose. So there are people that were here that had invested buy-in from Nicole automatically, right? They already knew Nicole, or they saw the advertisement or whatever. They were going to come no matter what. Russ was going to be here no matter what, right? Russ is bought in. Janine's bought in. Patrick is bought in. Christine, etc. But the thing is those folks cannot be the only people that have buy-in. They can be the ones that help advertise for you. They can be the ones that help you kind of promote your product and tell other people about your product. To get the people like John here, or other people like Amanda, who's around, right? Maybe you know people, maybe you don't, but it's, hey, it sounds fun. Somebody else told me about it. The idea of the big splash is the dumbest idea I've ever heard of in my life, and people subscribe to it. This is the idea that we're going to form a PR press release. We're going to have one day that's all our day, right? This entire day is just going to be wall-to-wall us, and we're going to advertise, and this is all we're going to have to do, and we're going to get everybody on board. That is not how marketing works. A single thing is about long game marketing. Can't be otherwise, because you're not listening to the same receptors everyone else is. And I can give you an example that just happened. Who knows who Sam Nunberg is? Really? Because in March 2018, He literally went and said outrageous things. He was a Trump associate, got indicted by Mueller. He said outrageous things wall to wall. Every single network, every single internet thing, everybody had something on it, right? Wall to wall said outrageous stuff. Was even drunk on the live broadcast at the end of the thing on CNN. They called him out on it. None of you even know who I'm talking about. That's because that's big splash marketing. There's only so much in your receptors for that one time. It's got to be a continual time. It's got to be a continual push. You have to continually see it as an opportunity. This class had 6,600 views. I don't see 6,600 people here. You know, so does anybody know how I got that organically? I got some from shares, I got some from other stuff. I did it through Facebook co-hosting. Now, Facebook co-hosting is free, and it's something that you can do with all your events, and we even did it with the Brats, Brews, and Bands event. And what this was, we actually got 50,000 people to look at it. Doesn't mean we had 50,000 buyers, but what we did was, under co-host, when you create your event, you start putting in the pages that are working with you, so events, whether it be Lacey Forza, if it's held here, or other places, and once they accept it, it automatically goes into their feed as an event that they're hosting. It's a lot different when it's an event you're hosting compared to an event somebody else is hosting, right? Or your friends. When they see it, they go, hey, wow, this is great. It's like invites, except that everybody ignores invites, right? Everyone ignores them now. Everyone goes, God, 50 email invites, I don't care. But if all of a sudden you see that in your feed and you go, wow, there's a little different. That's how you build up. We had over 160 people that said they were confirmed going here. Jeff, how many people are here? I don't think there's 160, right? Yeah, so you just have to think about it from that framework. You're consistently looking at people that when they click those things are not necessarily going to actually show up. So we have people that bought tickets didn't show up. It's going to happen. It's part of life. So instead, you have to kind of be focused on playing the margins, playing the amount of times. How many times do you play blackjack or roulette? You don't expect the house to always lose. The house is the empty seats. It's just going to happen. So I wanted to talk about the time test, 8:01 a.m. How many people actually saw that? Raise your hand. Okay, that was only on one post, but I had so many people comment on it, and were like, oh my gosh, this is weird. How is this possible? The reason is that when they saw it, that's what they were reading. That's what you have to do with your audience. You have to test what your audience is looking at. Your audience isn't looking at the time on the ticket, which was absolutely correct, or the time in the event that was absolutely correct. They're looking at the header. So if you're going to share something, say you're going to share something and you don't put something above it, say you share an event that you're part of, you don't put any information above it, people possibly ignore it. People see it maybe as a picture and maybe as a headline, but they don't really kind of look at it. They don't digest it. He did. He digested it. She did. She digested it. And it was only one time. And I had other people that emailed me, and I had even one person that blocked me on Facebook, outraged. Serious. Yeah, I didn't even know I was friends with him. He was just upset by it. I said, well, I explained it to him. I said, it's kind of a test. I just don't get it. I just don't understand. Because you're not trying to learn. You're not trying to dissect what your customers are looking at. Because right now, you are part of the hunting. Instead of being hunters, you're part of the hunted. You're the customers to me, right? You know, you're the people that suddenly have this idea that, oh my gosh, I'm actually a customer. I have to actually kind of think about what the customers are looking at. That's why the time test is important. What you put in there, you've got to test your audience. Everything is about event rules. We established them here. Event rules were, guess what? You're not going to be let in late. You're not going to get a ticket that says sold out. Selling out means a sellout, right, Audrey?
Yes.
Yes, we don't violate those rules. If we violate those rules, what happens? What happens if all of a sudden I decide that I'm going to let 40 people in here? Do you reserve a ticket next time? No? Why? Oh, you don't want more people in here? You don't want more people to have be a part of this? Exactly. And here's the other thing. You also suddenly become lazy. Suddenly you decide you don't want to do it. Why would I have to go through the process if somebody else didn't? If I gave people tickets, but I sold you one at $50, how does that make you feel? Really? Because, we've got a full audience then. Don't you like that? Yeah, I mean, you see what happens when you comp things. When you allow people to get one over on you. Hey, they're buddies. Hey, they're friends. They'll tell other people about it. Why don't they believe in you enough? Why don't they want to be a part of what you're doing? Why don't they want to give you money? To me, I would kind of wonder, when somebody wants to basically get something for free from me, well, they must not value me, my product, my service. Suddenly they want it for free. Hey, I want a membership for free. Why? Why shouldn't you be the first one in? Don't you value this? Oh, I'll tell others. Why don't you tell others right now? Again, the chamber thing. I joined your chamber, and then you want me to give away stuff for free. Shouldn't happen. It's about causing a respectable brand. If I look at certain things like Lexus, I know what a Lexus is going to do. It's not just how it makes me feel, but that thing is not going to break off the road. What's Ford? Found on road dead, right? There are unfortunately other qualities that you've got with car brands, with brands in general. Think about what that means. Think about what it means to then violate your own brand rules. If you let people do this, if you don't become dogmatic to it, what happens? People then don't take you seriously. There's a LA band that got actually caught over the weekend lying for a European tour, being serious. And they essentially lied, faked their audiences on YouTube that they were sold out shows, told this European club that flew them out, first class, everything, gave them a ton of money, said, hey, we got 300 tickets sold. In reality, they sold 3 tickets. So I want you to think about if you were that video. You've been lied to. You now have to talk to your boss. You now have to talk to your marketing staff. You were all pumped up for this event. Would you ever trust that agent again? Would you ever trust that band or the band members again? Or, let me even come a little further, would you even trust a band from America? It kills your brand. It kills everything about your brand when you give away stuff for free or when you lie. When you lie, if I had not shown up here prepared, what would that have done for my brand? Not just to do a marketing class, but as a person. Would you have not changed the way you viewed me? Even if you didn't know me, you would have absolutely changed. The speakers don't work. I found this out when we had Susan Hutchinson here. Guess what? I rented speakers. I rented speakers because it's more important for me to have you perceive my brand as be something of quality. Whether you decide you got anything out of this or not, that's not the point. I mean, hopefully you got something out of this, but the whole point is that you shouldn't, be under the impression that it's acceptable to have things that just don't work. I always get this a lot. Well, I have 1,000 views on my video. Great. That means nothing. You have 50 buyers. If you have 50 buyers, you actually have more than you have 1,000 views. 50 buyers are worth more than 1,000 people seeing it that ignored it or scanned through it. I have 500 people that came through my store, or I've got 5,000 every day that see my billboard. Are you sure they see your billboard? Are you sure they actually look at it? Because the person telling you that they see your billboard usually is selling you on the billboard. Ask your people. Do they actually see something? Do they actually want to buy something? Are they actually going to be a part of it? So what if they saw it? Great. I see a lot of stuff. I've seen your advertisements. Doesn't mean I'm in for a house. I'm not picking on you, but does that mean that that's relevant to whether or not I'm a buyer? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's great to put signs everywhere, but signs may or may not mean anything if you don't have people that want to buy. I'll give you another tip. LinkedIn. How many people have LinkedIn accounts? Okay. How many people know that you can pull off every email from every LinkedIn account? Yeah. So you can actually create an email newsletter of all those people that are within your stuff that you can then marginalize. You can segment out. Not every person is a buyer, but you can find the people that are more likely buyers. I have an email list that goes out to 13,000 people for sports industry executives. You will not see it. Guess what? You are not in the sports industry. You may like sports, that has nothing to do with it. I know who buys. I know who consumes. If I put you on that list, all of a sudden my list becomes less. my list becomes empty calories. And this is where a lot of these, likes and, interactions and engagements come from. They're all empty calories because if they haven't bought anything, they don't really care about your product. It's about creating your list. It's about segmenting out. How many people really kind of look at their list and segment out between buyers and not buyers? Between things they like and things they don't? I actually got in trouble for in a bar last weekend because I said something that the person behind the bar mistook, and she said, you shouldn't make generalizations, and I said, no, I was being specific. I said, if you were a man over 30, you would know every line from Fletch. The movie Fletch, just guys were issuing. Women, probably not. It's not a sexist thing. It's who it targeted. If I asked men about the Gilmore Girls, guaranteed, no guy knows exactly what we're talking about. It's not trying to be mean or generalized to, downplay somebody, but it's to say those are the specific markets it's talking to. That's what matters. What matters is understanding what your specific markets are. Who are you trying to target and who's actually trying to buy your product? Because if you're just trying to hit everybody, you hit nobody. This is why different touch points matter. Touch points are not just, I just do it on Facebook. Great. You're only hitting one touch point. You're only hitting one type of person. Instagram. Total women. I don't know of many guys that are on Instagram. There's some, but I mean, it's really women focused. Or Pinterest. That doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It just means where people are found at. If there are certain places that you are touching people and hitting people with your advertisement, that may or may not be the entire place that they see you, but it's at least an environment. So maybe you hit them on your website. Well, that's your slow lane. That's your really slow lane. Twitter's your really fast lane. But guess what? Twitter doesn't exist here. I mean, Twitter's not really known here. But in the sports industry, Twitter's huge. Like, Twitter is just like the bomb. Facebook here is the bomb, right? Facebook is the bomb. But if I go to like a major metropolitan city, they're so beyond Facebook right now. They're on LinkedIn, they're on other stuff. You have to know where your buyers are, and then you have to hit them on different touch points. How do they make you feel? Where are they? Maybe you've got signage up. Maybe you've got different types of cards that you've done out. With the Pocket Gophers, we didn't just go to the mall and say, great, we're done. We put those mascots everywhere. But even when I didn't have the mascots, I would still go to every event and hand out 3x5 cards or business cards. I would hand out other stuff. We would hit on geofencing. Anybody know what geofencing is? Geofencing, I can target every one of your cell phones. I did this over the election for a few candidates. So if you walk in within a certain thing, you're scrolling on your Safari or whatever, your Google Chrome, I can hit that. Probably not good that the organizer has a phone on. But, but at the same time, those technologies are available. Here's the thing, I've used it before and it hasn't worked for me because it's not going to work for everybody. If you have a product that doesn't work for everybody, don't sell it. It comes back to that brand. If you can just sell every rube on everything, it's not going to help anybody, and you're going to lose business, even on the people that may actually benefit from that business. I always suggest that you test your audiences. Find out what your audience is like and continue to test it. We had our games at 7:30. Turns out, a lot of parents, they wanted to come, but they want to come at 6 o'clock. Guess what we're doing? We're moving them. We had events during the halftime shows that we actually paid groups to come out. Turns out we didn't need that. We need the 6-foot inflatable soccer ball. You know what they love? They love the e-gaming trailer that we had out one game, so we brought it out for every game. You have to continue to test out who your audience is. Because if you don't test out your audience, you're not learning. You have to figure out what your audience wants, because your audience will tell you. I'll give you an example. Pumpkin spice lattes. Yeah, but here's the thing. Can I find them in spring? No. I only find them during one period out of the year. They limit the supply, but they actually test their audience. They find out when the most likely opportunity is for them to buy something. They don't allow it just to be out there. Because if it were out there at all times, it wouldn't be valued. People wouldn't run to it. There are 2 ROs. There's return on investment. It's the easiest one, right? There's also another one, return on ego. Return on ego is the worst one that you can have, but it's usually one that people try to gravitate and buy to immediately. We always have this in luxury boxes. So this is actually the Association of Luxury Suite Directors. So I'm in the board, great, whatever. But we always deal with this, in venues. There are people that want to buy the luxury suites, and that's great. But they want to buy it not because they want to activate business. They want to buy it for themselves, but they want their business to pay for it. You know what ends up happening? A company like UPS says, we're never going to sponsor that again. So you're out everything. Because instead of that person showing activation, instead of that person showing what they should have done, they all wanted the ego. They wanted the ability for them to kind of flash. Hey, I got the big car, the big company car. It's a Ferrari. Where are we going to deliver stuff? Oh, this would be great. Yeah, doesn't work that way. So return on ego is one of the most dangerous ROs you can have. If it's not return on investment, you shouldn't do it. If it's something that you like and you don't even ask whether or not it actually activates for you, whether or not it actually returns business, it's not marketing. It's you really wanting to do something for yourself and spend somebody's money, maybe company money, whatever. I don't personally like, poker. But if I thought that poker chips, and having specially designed poker chips were a way to activate a certain business because people would see it, hell yes, I'm doing poker chips. But I'm not doing poker chips if I love poker and I don't know whether or not my customer or future buyer wants poker. Concept 2, no one cares. This idea that somehow we can make excuses because we don't deliver on a service, a product, an event, is irrational. They will put up with it, and then they will move on. So let's use an example. Hey, we're really short-handed tonight. Don't care. It's not on me. That's on you as a business. You should have figured that out. Hey, we didn't open the doors on time. That's on you. Hey, we don't have all the stuff that you asked for. That's on you. That's not on me as the customer. And when I see that as a customer, they will probably put up with it, but you know what their first topic of mind will be? It's that forming an opinion, and a negative one. What's the first words that come out of anybody's mouth when they've had a bad experience? Not coming back, and they tell 10 other people. What happens? Did your excuse matter? Your excuse didn't diffuse anything. They might put up with it a little bit. Hey, I'm sorry about this. This just happened. Great, we're fixing this. I can understand a little of that. But when it's something constant, when it's something to where you could have fixed it, doesn't matter. Doesn't care, don't care. Buyers don't buy excuses. They actually leave when you have excuses. If all of a sudden, John decides he's not gonna have a volleyball match, right? We cancel our volleyball match. Am I coming back to another volleyball match? Yeah, sorry. If all of a sudden we were supposed to have an awards show, don't have it. Hey, guess what? The person didn't show up with the trophies. Guess what? It's not on me. I'm the buyer. I just leave. I might put up with it. I might sit there and go, okay, big deal. That's it. And this comes to the idea that you are not your buyer. You are not the person buying your product. Because if you were the person buying your product, they would be selling it alongside of you. They would actually take up the reins and they'd sell home loans, or whatever. They wouldn't go through the process of finding a home lender, right? They wouldn't find the process of understanding a lawyer. You are not your buyer. So when you try to suggest what your buyer wants without asking your buyer, you're really doing yourself a disservice. Your buyer is the opposite of you. I'll give you a case in point. She's in the room, and that's Audrey. So Audrey came to me about 2 months before her Oktoberfest event. It was the first Oktoberfest event. She said, I need help. I said, sure, I will sit down with you. We will get this sold out. She had never done it before. She wanted to put on an authentic Oktoberfest in the Alps. And when I sat down with her, the first question I asked is, so when do tickets go on sale? And her response was, the group doesn't want to sell tickets. They feel uncomfortable with people paying fees. They're not the buyers. Why can't you let me decide? If I know that I can pay a fee and not stand in line, I will pay probably more than that ticket price. Ticketmaster proves this all the time. Than that actual fee. And if I know I'm guaranteed something, that's even better. And my question back to her was, how do you know how much food you're going to have to make? Right? Alarm bells started. And in a week, she actually started really working on it, right? Well, this even comes further. She didn't just rest on her laurels. She didn't just say, hey, there are tickets on sale, that's it. She went to the senior news. I never even would have thought of the senior news, and then I'm sitting there, I'm seeing all these people that are seniors with mom who's 60 and granddaughter who's 30 experiencing this authentic Oktoberfest. All of a sudden she goes to Mix 96, she goes to Thurston Talk, different segments. Surprisingly, I don't read the senior news. I don't know how many people in here do, but it's not the same segment. Doesn't mean that it's a bad segment. It means you have to decide whether or not it's a segment that will actually buy tickets. Whether or not Thurston Talk is the same place that you digest stuff. Whether or not you listen to Mix 96 in the morning with Dick Boost, right? It just depends. But you constantly, never stop. The problem that a lot of people have is they try to build up name recognition way too quick. It doesn't matter whether they have great ideas. It doesn't matter whether or not people like what they sell. People don't know you. People don't trust in you. People don't think that that's it. She actually sold out at 160 tickets, right? 160 tickets. And what happened? I heard people at the door going, hey, can I get, my buddy wants to come, can he come in? What was the response? Sorry, sold out. Guess what happens now? All of a sudden they start waiting for next year, right? Next year suddenly they want to be a part of it. So we're going to be in a hostage situation. No, we're in a hostage situation. Kind of cold, but it's true. So we're all in a hostage situation. We're all in there. The person keeps coming in telling us they're going to kill us, right? Telling us they're going to hurt us. Never do it. How often do you really kind of, like in that situation, after you've been told so many times and nothing's happened, how many times are you kind of more nonchalant about it? You just don't care, right? You're like, oh, great, whatever. All of a sudden, one of them comes in, shoots one of us in the head. What happens then? Suddenly we get the message. Suddenly everybody's like, ooh, this is a big deal. That's what sold out is. Sold out is you don't get it. Sold out is you're home. Go home. I don't care that you wasted all this time. You didn't go through the process. And then what happens next time that she puts on everything on sale? That person's there, and we can sell those tickets at 20% higher because she's limited by capacity. Or maybe we do a second show. I still want the second show. Yeah, she didn't want to do the second show, but I still want to do the second show. You fit 320, but they will sell out. How many people knew about that Oktoberfest? 2 people. So, she had 160 people, she went and all those things, and she did not receive any information that you guys processed. That should tell you about your event, that nobody knows. Constantly, there are more people to talk to. There are always more people to digest, whether or not you want to be a part of it or not. It's really, there's an opportunity for you to use free resources. I always find this exceptional that you see on radio station pages, they always have event calendars, never full. Event calendars digitally are all over the place. Why aren't you putting every single event there? Why aren't you trying to put every single place that there is a free newsletter? There's a free something. If you're a member of the chamber, they have newsletters. Make sure you're in their calendars, make sure you're in their newsletters. The VCB has a giant calendar seen by over 100,000 a month. How many people put it in there? It's a free resource, your taxpayer dollars paid for. You should be hitting them up with every single event. Not the week of, not 2 weeks out. I don't care if it's a year out. Hit them up. It's about developing your own cult. You know, I mean, you can say what you want, but, 50 people that are together that really believe in you are much better than 1,000 views, right? So if you have your own cult, if you have your own people that will rely on you and actually give you the power of the referral, that's how you expand out your cult. So many people think that I'm just speaking to here in this room. I'm actually speaking online right now. They're live streaming this. Why are we live streaming this? Because there are several people that will be seeing this that are not in this room. There are several people that will be maybe they'll kind of be part of the cult, or maybe they'll be part of the December 4th one that we're doing at South Sound Manor that has double the space. May sell out even quicker. Has more content. You have to continue to divide and make sure that people understand that there's more out there. But your cult has to be able to push it out. Kind of feels weird to say cult. I get it. Like nobody's shaving their head or putting their flowers at the. Did you really put your flowers at the thing? But the point is, you need to make sure that you're kind of developing a passionate audience. So I would even go to micro-targeting. How many people micro-target when they put out an ad, put out a Facebook ad? Who do you micro-target to?
For volleyball camps, parents of preteens.
Okay, and what do you say to them?
Safety, great for beginners, and talk about like educated staff and just the safety, like the buzzwords for parents.
And the thing is, that's one segment. But think about the other segments that might be out there. Free babysitting, not free, but you know what I mean. Babysitting, education, learn something about yourself. Free, easy way to get in there. Those are different segments, and they all reach different areas. How many people knew that you could actually target within a mile on Facebook? Did you guys get hit usually with the 10 mile, right? You can drop a pin in and hit that exact location and only do a mile. You can also do duplicate audiences. It doesn't cost you anything. But there are people just like you, I guarantee you, that you don't know in this community who are actually, being target marketed to as well. So duplicate audiences for Facebook, you click that, suddenly you've got 3 times the amount of firepower, right? This is all about how to find buyers. I always look at it as outworking the opponent. Your opponent is everybody else. Sounds scary, but everybody in this room is a competitor of everybody else's time, resource, service, product, event. I don't care if it's for charity. The worst thing that I hear is that, well, it's for charity. That's a great defense mechanism. That's like, well, I did everything right. Doesn't matter. It's for charity. Great. I don't care. Charities do not need another shitty event. An event that doesn't have things start on time. That was for charity. You know what the difference was? She didn't sell to charity. She sold to authentic German Oktoberfest. She had people in lederhosen. She had that Black Forest cake with alcohol in it. Yeah, right now I'm selling you on that event, right? You missed out on that event. Here's the thing. It's great that it went to charity. I feel good that it went to charity, but that can't be the defense mechanism. That can't be the only reason that you have it. It's for charity. Born to be Wild is a great event that I even missed out on. It was Boys and Girls Club. They had everyone dress up as they were 1950s. Kind of the old, slick back hair and the motorcycles. That's an experience. That makes me want to be a part of it. It's great that it funds charities. Awesome, but there are 2,500 charities in this county. I don't know if everyone knew that. This nonprofit here, 2,500. You know the rest of the state? Less than that. There are enough charities around. By the way, that comes from Lee Warner of OB Credit Union, who's on one of the biggest charities there is. He understands. It's got to be more than just charity. You can't just assume that charity sells it. Because charities, there's 5 charity events tonight. I guarantee you, if you look on the calendar, there's 5 charity events and they all think you should be on. It's not the way things work. I always have 10 stories ready to go in the sports industry. Experiences I've had. There's a reason for that. Because if I'm selling myself, if I'm selling the experiences that I've had, it's why I'm an expert in this field, why I'm somebody of a resource as a consultant, I need to have those ready to go. I need to be able to pare them back, I need to be able to expand them. I don't need to just jump on somebody the second that I meet them. But if they ask me about myself, now I've got a narrative, now I've got an arc. Too many people run up to people. I had this where we had a company that actually paid me to go around at a sports business conference with them. They were a vendor, so they could learn how to network. And the first thing I told them was to shut up. The amount of time that they would jump in, and the first thing they would do is blah, 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 blah. Great. Nobody cares about your commercial. They want to know you as a person. I want to know if I can trust you if I give you. I want to know if you're worth it if I give you. The problem is that way too many people think that the only way they sell the product is to start just jumping. Instead, you've got to listen, and then when it comes to that idea of they ask you, so what are your experiences, blah, 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 that's when you've got an experience. Not an elevator pitch to your entire, vendor package of, blah, 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 but what do you know about it? How do you know about it? What are some of the crazy things that you know? I pissed off an entire state of Montana with my ticket policies. Seriously. I can go through an entire litany of stuff, or I can tell you I'm the most hated man in Montana. That's it, usually a catch-all. Usually people want to hear that. The point is, you have to have something that actually allows them to be a part of it, that's a story arc, that has a beginning, middle, and end. Otherwise, people don't care, because you're just selling them at that point. I try to sell them on myself. You know, the one thing that I will say is there are so many people that are uncomfortable in their own skin and they're uncomfortable selling in general. The thing about hype marketing is you have to be comfortable with yourself. I have one superpower. It is the lack of embarrassment. Seriously, I know I'm a beautiful creature. I don't care what you think in that front. If I hurt your feelings, I would feel bad if you told me. That's different. That's a sociopath. But in terms of if I'm going to sell you, if I'm going to talk to you about who I am, and I'm going to talk to you about my brand, I'm not offended by it. I'm not going to stand in the back corner. In fact, whenever we have things, when we had Gateway Rotary, they invited me to Gateway Rotary, boy, they didn't even know what they were getting into. I stood at the front and I shook everyone's hand and said, welcome to Gateway Rotary, every single week. Guess what? I met a lot of new people. I didn't have to sell them on, hey, guess what? You know, I've got this business and this business and this business. That didn't matter. I sold them on myself. They end up coming to you and asking you what you do. I really don't know what you do. Great, let me tell you what I do. That's amazing. I've confronted you several times without selling you on actually what I do, and instead I've told you how great of a person I am by welcoming you into this. Now I do live streams, now I do everything. If you care, if you actually show involvement, it works. By the way, I will always state this. I am one of the top sellers in this area for wilderness in Girl Scout cookies. I'm being serious. My sister refused to go out and sell Girl Scout cookies, and we had this entire garage full. This is back in the 80s. I literally went around and sold Girl Scout cookies. Top seller. Doesn't bother me. I'm not embarrassed by that. Well, that's for Girl Scouts. Don't care. If I want to do something, I will go and do it. Plus, I got the badge. When she tried to get the badge, that was the interesting story. All of this comes back to the idea of getting it done in advance. Stop with the idea of not doing it in advance. This is a wedding. I don't care if it's a product. I don't care if it's anything that you're doing as service. It needs to be done in advance. And that comes really to the idea of a 52-week strategy. You know, when you look at what time is worth what you want to put into it. If I literally put 10 minutes a day into something, that's 310 minutes a month. Quite big, that's 5 hours. So if you look at it from that framework, you can get a lot of stuff done. But you have to start immediately. So there's a guy, David Crawford, he does Floorball Guru. I couldn't tell you what floorball is. It's kind of like hockey without, you know, skates. It's kind of different, but he's all into it. Comes up to me and goes, how can I do this? 52-week strategy. Write 52 blog posts before you release one, and then replace it. Now you become an expert. Now you become something that can release content. But wait, you know, that's gonna take a long time. Of course it is. You don't do things easy. You don't do things quick. Otherwise you're Sam Nunberg. Nobody gives a shit about your name 2 weeks later. You know? Give you an easy way to do the 52-week strategy. Write one line per subject, and then expand off of that. And that can be changed into digital content, it can be changed into whatever. But this is the message that you put out. And I guarantee you, the message that you put out week 52 will be the message that they start hearing week 1. You know, that's how the treadmill works. And by the way, every single time that you put out a piece of content, replace it. It's a lot easier. Then all of a sudden, if somebody gets sick, if something happens, you have the ability to kind of replace it. It's about having a war with a plan. You know, one that I always love is the term avant-garde theater. Anybody hear of that? Avant-garde theater? It's usually some weird play that nobody cares about, and they always blame the audience for not showing up. It's not bad. Only 9 people are there. That's their excuse. Avant-garde. The audience didn't get it. You know, you didn't get who your audience was. You didn't want to try to find out who your audience was. You want to make excuses for why your audience wasn't there. You know, and it's not just social media. It could be other things. It's about building up an audience, not getting it done overnight, and not trying to create less than a believable brand. If you can't create a believable brand, something that I believe in, I'm not going to be a part of it. I trust Christine because I know Christine. Christine shows up every single time to Gateway Rotary. Christine is dependable. Christine has had a business. Christine knows things. What happens if somebody comes and goes, you know, I'm better than Christine at this? I don't know you. Why would I buy a house from them? I don't know them. I know Christine's going to look out for my best interest. I've seen Christine work. I've seen who Christine is. Not just in the idea of selling a house, but in the brand of who she is. Sorry to pick on you, but I mean, it's... Yeah, but I mean, look, there are a lot of things that, you know, people assume that they do, especially on social media. You look at Facebook. Right now, there's a program that you could each buy that allows you to, anytime anybody has liked a post or a picture, but they haven't liked your page, it will automatically send them an invite. I use it all the time. I use it for politicians. Guess what? It's like 20 bucks. You know, if you actually put out there, the internet has everything you ever need in terms of a tool. It just doesn't have an excuse. You can either pay for it or you don't. I always list Facebook groups as more valuable than pages, mainly because everybody in a group can actually see something. So if you have people that are on your page that are really invested, why not put them in a group? Make them part of that cult. Make them feel more special. Make them feel more invested. Photo tagging is another one. Anybody got a picture of the pocket gopher, suddenly got a tag. We tag them in the photo. You know why? Because usually they share it. Usually it goes on to other people that haven't even seen it. You're continuing to grow your audience. By the way, these were $200–300 mascots from China. They weren't terribly expensive. The kids were more expensive to put in. But where else do you see mascots? The only other mascot is the hammer, right? You know, I mean, is the Olympia Master Builder.
That was my favorite.
Yeah, there you go. But that's it. There's no other mascots that aren't tied to schools. There aren't mascots that people are indelible not to want to be in a picture with specifically because they didn't go to that school. You have to figure that out. This is under the idea, though, of meaningful conversation. So let's talk about your Facebooks, your individual ones. Whether or not you realize it, you're part of a brand. Your personal Facebook, everything that you put on it is part of a brand. I know people that I would never buy from that I consider close personal friends that put out bile. They put out crap that I don't know if anybody agrees with. And I don't even want to get into politics. I mean just bile. Just crap that you go, I don't want to associate with that. I know somebody who I really value as a friend. I think he's a swell guy. But I would never buy a house from him, a car, anything. Because, well, that's his personal opinion. Great. My personal opinion doesn't agree with it. I don't want to be a part of that. You are a brand. Even on your personal social, you turn people off. This is about having that actual strategy. If you really want to create and put a bunch of crap out there, do it on a fake account, not tied to anyone. Maybe tied to your own, and so that way when every one of your friends comments, they're like, who the hell is this? This guy sucks. Well, I mean, it's the same thing. How many people have had fights with friends of friends? Not even people that they know on Facebook, but they're friends of friends. The worst people on earth, right? And you always get this defense. Oh, I kind of like him, you know, he's a good guy. Yeah, they just defended this. Okay? You gotta kind of watch yourself. And it's always about finding an actual strategy. Where do your buyers live? Where do your buyers consume? If your buyers are your friends, I wouldn't want to put that out there. I wouldn't want them to see that. I wouldn't want that projection of it. There are a lot of things you all don't know about. Things that you might disagree with. But guess what? You don't know about them. Because I don't put them out there. I have had horrible arguments with people. But guess what? They're not out there. Because if they were, that might change your perception of it. Does that make me a liar? Or does that make me somebody that's cognizant of what I'm doing and trying to correct a problem offline rather than online? You have to think about the fact that each platform is selling to a different audience. I don't care if it's Facebook. I don't care if it's Instagram. I mentioned women. Now, you know, women on Instagram, that's one thing. Food is another, right? Those are the catering audiences. If you put out trucks might not work on Instagram. It's just the platform that doesn't work for it. If you do Facebook Live like we are right now, Facebook actually pushes it up way higher right now because it's important to them to kind of get into the analytics right now. But that doesn't mean that you're converting buyers. You're merely converting attention. And I can show you one example of politics. Beto O'Rourke ran through all of Texas, did Facebook Live 50 different times a day, literally in the car, literally running around, just jabbering all day long, 500,000 views, still lost by 2%. Because guess what? You had a lot of attention, but you did not have actual buyers. You didn't have actual voters. You didn't have enough people that actually wanted to vote for you. Think about that for a minute. You have all the reach in the world, but if you don't have the reach to the right people, it's not going to work. I always look at this as, kind of the end result. What do you want to accomplish? Do you want to accomplish something that merely gets out there, or do you want to accomplish something that really kind of pushes? And when it pushes, you need to be their only option, because you're the right option. You're a brand. You're somebody that they trust over everybody else. I know who I get my oil done by, and it's not Midas and it's not Jiffy Lube. It's by one guy that I know specifically, because he actually looked at my brakes as well. He said, hey, this looks a little thin, we should take off the tires. Oh wow, you saved me some time. Wouldn't have known that. Okay. Only sold me what I needed, but made sure that I was safe. I'm going to trust that guy often, over and over again. I'll give you another example. UPS store back in Seattle. I had a lady that worked at the UPS store when I had season tickets that I was putting out. Every single time, she knew exactly what I needed. She was on there tenfold, right? They moved her 10 blocks away. Guess where I went? I trusted her. She is a brand. She cared about me more than I did the UPS store. Doesn't matter that the UPS store was further away. It matters that I cared about it. It matters that I knew I could get it done, and I didn't have to train a new person. So whether or not you work for the same business that you worked with 5 years ago, whether Patrick moves on, as he moved on from Premier Mortgage now to Cardinal Financial, people are going to trust Patrick, right?
That's right.
Why? Because you'll help them out. When I had a question about my aunt, who he's a lawyer as well, and she sold my grandmother's house, and he could have totally bilked me for like a lot of money just by not answering my question, having me go on as a client. He told me, hey, she owes nothing. Great. What does that tell me about his brand? He's not going to sell me on something I don't need. Every one of you, when you're actually developing marketing, need to think about what you're actually doing. And it doesn't mean discounting. If 50% off is your price, then great, that's your price. Then don't be selling 50% more later on. If you can only sell on a discount, if you can only give them breaks, that's your price. Why is that not your price? If they don't want to come up to that price, if they want to haggle, they're not right for you. How many times have we heard this? It's like proposals, marriage, everything. Some people aren't right for you, right? You can't assume that just because somebody comes along with a ring, but they have now a requirement that you reduce everything, that that's the right person for you. I know it's kind of a weird analogy, but in this, we're trying to marry all of our clients, right? We're trying to have like an escalator, a proposal. And when you have people that only come in at half price, or conditional love, if mother only told you that she conditionally loved you, how would you feel? So don't go on to the conditional love of discount. I'm going to tell you another one that's a really big one with me, and that's hashtags. I see 30 different hashtags in one post. Boy, that's awesome. It's horrible. 8 to 10 words, or 8 to 10 letters, sorry, not words. But it needs to tell a narrative. Who are you? What are you selling? What is this all about? Dan Griffey, I met with him. He wanted to run. He's a new he's a representative. Been there for like 2 terms now. This is going to be his 3rd. But his hashtag was in your corner. Because guess what? He's your pit bull in Olympia. And guess what? He doesn't care if you voted for him or not. If you're his constituent, he's going to go there in your corner. Andrew Barkus, community driven. He is all about the community, embedded in the community, wants to be a part of the community. Drew McEwen, get on board. You're going to have his energy. Get on board. This is the movement. He's going to help you move forward. You have to think about your narrative, and you have to own it. It's much like your regular brand. A lot of people don't get into this hashtag stuff. They think, oh, it's just to search. It's not what it's for. It's just sum up every piece of stuff that you're putting out there for why you're selling it. Value closer, you know, value real estate person, whatever. The talk bird, right? You know, whatever it is. And you have to think about it for a while. It doesn't just come to you in 2 minutes. But you have to think about what message people are getting, because it's simplifying the message. And it's making sure that they see the message. Whether it's great images, great logos, great live video, it doesn't matter. It has to hone down to it. And guess what? You have to own that like your championship belt. Nobody else can have it. And when you don't have one, you know what the difference is? People actually recite it back to you. And it's kind of amazing. So all of a sudden, Andrew Marcus started getting it where people were putting community driven in his comments. You only put that out there a few hundred times, but suddenly it started coming back to him. People got the message. It's all about a wedding, scheduling a year out. You know, if you're not trying to schedule a year out, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's an event. I don't care if it's whether or not you decide you're going to have a product launch. It's got to be a year out. I always fascinate about whether it's wine, whether it's barbecue sauce, whether it's whatever. They never schedule out their releases enough to where there's only 50 bottles and you better buy now. They can do that literally on Celery, which is a product software. I know, a weird name, but they have their name. But you can actually sell in advance, and you can actually have deposits. No cards get charged until. Why would I want to do that? If I were a wine company, why would I want to sell my new release before it's even bottled? Make sure, once you punish people, they know and they get trained, and they realize whether they want it or not. I wanted to speak about different things of the power of the mind. It's kind of weird, kind of segue, but it works. Royce and Trapp used to have the power of position. So I'm going to start an applesauce company, Mike. So the applesauce company is Texaco applesauce. You gonna eat it? Crest applesauce. No? Tide applesauce. Why? It's just applesauce. Why wouldn't you eat it? The power of the mind has decided that is oil, that is toothpaste, that is soap. If all of a sudden you start changing your brand, you start violating your brand, that you've just done a lot of disservice to your own work. You have to be applesauce. You have to be Latin Farms applesauce. I can trust that because that's what they do. You know, and I'm not talking about Latin Farms, but I mean just anybody. Whatever it is, that has to be associated with that. And if you try to assume anybody else's brand, God help you, you're not going to get where you want to go. You know, Pappy Van Winkle. You may know what Pappy Van Winkle is? Whiskey? Yeah. It is sold out every year before it begins because they bottle the stuff and 25 years later, they have a batch. Pappy Van Winkle is shitty whiskey. It sells for $1,000 a shot because they limit supply. They don't allow everybody to have it. It is so risky to have, they've had people actually steal it, barrels of it. The FBI's coming. If you think that that's silly, I don't know if you've ever gone on Netflix where they have the Great Maple Syrup Heist, but they had one up in Quebec. Guess what? Sells for $1,000 a barrel. Thousands of dollars. Because it's limited supply. So when you think about it, limiting supply, limiting the amount of time that you're doing, actually has value. It raises your price. It sets the tone. All of this comes to simplifying the message. Hitting them. But one other thing, and this comes from Rob Cornelis, because I always love to give attribution. He ran Game Face in Portland, Oregon. Actually ran for Congress twice. But, you know, and he's a great trainer back in the day. He's a good trainer, a good guy. He used to talk about the consequences of inaction. Anybody know what the consequences of inaction are? If you don't propose, the girl leaves. She goes and finds somebody else to marry. If you miss out, you miss out. The consequences of inaction are pretty easy. And there's something that once that tone gets set, once you start to decide that, geez, this is a big deal, suddenly it's a big deal for everybody. So, in closing, we want to make people sit. We want to differentiate ourselves, and we want to constantly expand. But also, we want to stop making excuses. We want to stop having it to where we don't leverage other groups. There are 4 or 5 other groups that are non-competitors with you. You should be leveraging at every single event you have. And you've actually seen opportunities like that when they had the open houses at the hub, right, Janine? Open houses at the hub. 10,000 people saying they're going, 100 people show up, but still, it leverages their brand, and it never ends. So no matter what you're doing, no matter what you're looking at, it never ends. It doesn't stop just because you want it to stop. Because if you stop, you might as well go to sleep. In closing, I want to say thank you. I know that's a lot of preachiness. I know that's a lot of stuff, but I want to make sure I get through it. The thing is December 4th, we'll have another one of these, but we'll have it more time and expanded. It's free. You can sign up. Who knows? We'll have 200 people sign up. 10 people show up. Doesn't matter. But thank you very much for your time. And here's the other gift. Many people in this room you don't know who you could network with, you could chat with right now. It's whether or not you want to take that opportunity and you want to engage. You have the time. Thank you.
Can I have an attention?